Do.
Greetings, y'all, and welcome to this isn't exactly a what's an official what's going on segment, but it is a special segment that we are hosting tonight as we're talking about ancestral veneration with guests Sharena Loggins and Denay Dominic. And
Hey.
before we go into the conversation, y'all, I would first like for you all to introduce yourselves. So, whoever want to go first can go first and just kind of tell a little bit about yourself, and then the next person follows.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Serena Loggins. I am the founder of the Regal Phoenix Metaphysical Shop. We're a crystal shop. We sell crystal prescriptions. We don't sell individual crystals, but crystal prescriptions, sage, and metaphysical supplies, all the things that you need to assist you with your spiritual practice or if you're just getting into spirituality.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Denay Dominic, and I am the owner of Denay Nicole Coaching. I am a spiritual teacher as well as an intuitive coach. I offer classes on the spiritual awakening process as well as like becoming or being an empath. Sorry, my kids are coming home from school. I don't know if y'all can hear that. It's embarrassing, but nevertheless, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. And thank you all for joining in. And also, guys, so I'm Fancy. I'm the publisher and editor-in-chief of SwagHer Magazine. I do tend to forget to introduce myself. But Denay and Sharena are both clients of the magazine. And it just so happens that both of them, both of their businesses are along I don't want to say metaphysics industry, but the metaphysics realm, kind of. So,
Yeah.
okay.
That'll work. Yeah.
Okay. So
Spiritual-based businesses.
okay, yeah. That's a great way to put it right there.
Mhm.
So as they both have spiritual based businesses, both of them actually speak on ancestral veneration. So I felt like instead of me trying to explain ancestral veneration, I like for the ladies both to give a definition of it in their own words. And I figured because you all may not exactly, I almost want to say practice the same beliefs, there may be some differences there. So that's why I thought it would be great also for you all to share, what it means for each of you.
Oh, cool. You want us
You
to
want
go
to
ahead
go?
and go?
Yeah, whoever want to go first.
I went first on the introduction. You can go first.
Oh, well, thank you. So, for me, ancestral veneration is really just honoring those people, my bloodline, or even sometimes not folks in my bloodline. Maybe they were brought into the family through marriage, but I'm just not worshiping, but I'm honoring them and acknowledging that they are a part of my life. And without them, I wouldn't be here, right? So when it comes to me honoring my ancestors, though, I am very, very clear with the fact that I only want to speak with those who truly love me, who truly want the best for me and my family. I try to steer clear of my ancestors who are the tricksters or even the shape shifters because they're in our families, right? For me, when I am honoring them, I do things maybe just a little bit different than most of the more like mainstream traditions where I don't necessarily have an altar, but I do keep like their pictures on the wall. My ancestors who have gone before me, they're all in a similar area of my home, kind of like so that they could talk to each other when we're sleeping type of situation. But I do speak to them. I say good morning to them when I pass by their window. Well, technically, it's like their window if it's their photo. But when I need them, I call on them. When I need guidance, I call on them, and I even speak to them and ask them like, "Hey, what's going on in our family right now? Y'all see what's going on in our homes, you know." What can I do to help with the cease or the struggle of our own like family traumas or our generational curses? So that's what ancestral veneration to me looks like.
Okay. And I have a question about something that you said, but I'm going to come back to it to ask both of y'all. So, Sharena, what's your definition?
So my definition is pretty much the same. We're honoring our ancestors. And like she said, we don't typically say worship, but we're honoring them by keeping the contact with them, right? We're keeping in contact with them by keeping their name alive, by talking to them, by lighting a candle for them. That's how we're keeping the connection open between our ancestors. And as we do our work here on earth, we also assist them in the spiritual realm. So as we're here healing on earth and we're healing our generational trauma and curses and things like that, we're assisting them in their afterlife in the spiritual realm. And the great thing about having ancestors is that we have somebody in the spiritual realm that can help us. And so my practice is a little bit different. I do, and I don't like to say practice traditionally, because when it comes to spirituality, it's whatever you feel is right. We have to tap into that sixth sense. And so for me, I do what I feel is right and what sits well with my spirit. And so I do have altars all over my house, and I also have their pictures all over our homes. And like when we went to our grandparents' house, we always saw the elders' pictures everywhere. So this is not just something that we're just starting to practice. This is a tradition. This is something that has been handed down. And although our grandparents may have not said, this is our altar, that's what it was. It was their way of honoring their ancestors and their elders, those that came before them. So for me, when I get up in the morning and I open the blinds, I sage, I light an incense, and I light a candle for them every single day. And I talk to them every day. And it's a little bit different because when I was young, I lost my brother. And it was so very traumatic for me, to the point where I didn't want to be here anymore. And so him coming to me after that happened and letting me know that, I'm okay. I'm in another place, but my energy is still here. Um, Completely changed my life. So I know that they're here and I know that they can hear me. So when we have dinner, I set out a plate for them. And that's my offering to them. And usually I do that on Sunday. So every Sunday, I set out a plate for them. That's my routine. That's what I do for them. I light a candle for them every day. That's how I honor them. And sometimes, you ever get you hear a song in your head that you hadn't heard in a long time and you don't know where it's coming from?
Yes,
Your ancestors.
that's it.
They might want to hear it. So I always turn it on in the car. I turn it up in the house and we rock out, because it's something that they want to hear. And especially when my grandmother is present, she always want to hear the gospel songs. So we rock out to gospel, because I don't go to church every Sunday. So the only time she gonna get to hear it from me is when I turn it on in the house.
Wow.
Right.
I see JB Bullock. Hey JB, I see him come on often during our lives, and he seems to be really engaged in the conversation. So see, he says they is there. So I'm thinking he's saying that the ancestors are there. And then Cece also said a song or a scent.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I do not know how to pronounce this name, but they said preach Serena Loggins. I'm going through the same phase. Okay. So something that I noticed, you both kind of said, and even as I was Googling, just trying to better understand, I saw that it was like, there is a difference, or there seems to be a fine line between honoring your ancestors and then worshiping them. And I'm just curious as to what the difference is. Like, is it, what's taking it too far? Does that make sense to y'all?
Yeah. Go ahead.
You want to go ahead or you want me to go?
Okay, so I would say that the difference is that with worshiping is that you're actually praying to your ancestors as if they are a god or a goddess, or as if they created all of the heavens and the earth, right? Which are ancestors, they are not gods, right? They are still people who may be in the like reincarnation phase, so they might come back, right? Honoring them is just the same as like when you're with your girlfriends, right? You treat them well. You give them respect. You let them know that you are grateful for all that they have given. The blood that they've shed, right? The time that they've given, the lessons that they've taught. It's really just about the respect of it all, and letting them know that what they did was not in vain, and it has not been taken for granted.
Okay.
I totally agree. So with the worshiping, I think, it kind of takes away from the fact that we carry this bloodline and we are the legacy. So we are also the altar. Even if we don't have a physical altar, our bodies are the altar. And the way that we venerate them and honor them is in taking care of our temple, our bodies, but
Mm.
also acknowledging that their energy is still present. So honoring them is still interacting with them in a way, or interacting with their energy and acknowledging their presence, that they're still here. So worshiping is putting all your faith in something, in one thing, and worshiping it, and not acknowledging your own power or the power of the spirits that surround us. And there are a lot of spirits, not just our ancestors, but there are a lot of spirits, and
Absolutely.
there's a lot of energy, and it's not just one thing. So we shouldn't be worshiping it per se, but honoring that energy and honoring them, making sure that they, we keep the contact open, right? So one thing that I tell my children, because I got a lot of kids and I want them to continue the practice, is that, our ancestors help us in this everyday life. Like, this life is difficult. But if we learn how to maneuver and we learn how to work in conjunction with our ancestors, healing here on earth, we can heal them, and they can assist us in every aspects of our life. They provide us with wisdom, they can help us get over hurdles, and they can provide us with supernatural assistance. Things that we may think it's impossible, something that, it may not be possible. And I've experienced it myself. And that's why I speak on it, because I've experienced miracles and I know my ancestors helped me with them because I've asked for their help. And so
Mm.
that's what happens when you honor your ancestors. You can go to them and you can ask them for help, in assistance in whatever it is that you need. And because you've honored them, over time, and you make sure to keep that connection open, they're going to help you. They have the ability to. So,
Okay, yeah, look, I'm getting all type of ideas, but I'm like, okay, so first you got to build a relationship before you just start asking for stuff, and this is really, Denay
Yeah.
and I had like a deep
absolutely.
conversation about it, and she really, explained some things to me. But even as I'm still learning, so it's
Mhm.
just, I
And we're
guess it's,
always learning, right? We're always learning. It never
Right.
stops. It never
and I
stops.
guess it's just like too. I was gonna ask, well, how did you all get started in this, or how did you all begin to practice this or venerating your ancestors?
Well,
Uh,
I'm probably like most people. I didn't know much about venerating my ancestors. Um, and my grandmother passed away when I was 18 years old. So a lot of the stuff that she was teaching me as I was growing up and becoming a teenager, um, it just kind of stopped right there when she passed away. And so as I got older, I found a mentor, someone that my spirit sat right with, and I felt like I could trust them. They were from the same area that my family is from, is Louisiana. Their ancestors were from there, and it just felt right. And so my mentor was the one that actually taught me ancestral veneration from A to Z, the rooter to the tutor. And I'm like most people. I didn't know. I didn't have a clue of what to do. And so she told me what to do and she explained the practice to me. And she also made it a point to let me know not to become a slave to my altar, right? Because a lot of times we start practicing ancestor veneration and we're steady giving offerings and we're steady doing this and we think we have to do it every single day and we don't. We just have to
mhm.
have that relationship and it becomes a lifestyle. It becomes second nature. So
Right.
that's how I got into it. But I love it. I feel like it's amazing. And my I guess my experience with death changed the way that I look at death. So when my family members pass on, or I have people close to me passing on, it's different for me because I understand that they're no longer suffering. And I'm happy to have a new ancestor, somebody that can help me out. And I'm happy to keep that connection open and honor them until I no longer can.
And I just want to say, when you said that about your brother passing, it actually, as you told a story, it made me think like, okay, that could make me, because I don't like, I'm one of those people, I can barely talk about death. I just don't handle it well. I haven't ever
Mhm.
experienced it personally just yet. And so that is just really scares me. So with you saying that, that actually kind of gave me some comfort there, just
For a
knowing.
long time, I couldn't listen to songs. I couldn't say anything about death. I couldn't hear his name.
Really?
I couldn't go to
Can I
funerals. It was a lot. Yeah.
can I ask a question really quick? And I'm sorry to interrupt, but you said that your brother passed away. By any chance, did he have like heart issues?
No, he was murdered.
He was murdered.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm really
Hmm.
sorry to hear that.
Yeah. He was murdered. And I was young, and he was young. He was 26 years old. And
Wow.
like I believe in miracles, and
Hmm.
I'm kind of going off topic, but he's one of my favorite ancestors. I have a separate altar for my brother because he's like you mentioned earlier, like the tricksters. And
Hmm.
I wanted to speak on that too because you mentioned the tricksters and the shapeshifters and things like that. My brother is a warrior ancestor. Like he was a thug. He was that dude.
Yeah.
And so when I first started venerating him and honoring him, he would knock down everything off my altar because he didn't want to be with other people. So I do interact with those ancestors, those tricksters. You got to have balance. And so
Yeah.
my brother is like my biggest warrior spirit, my biggest warrior ancestor. He protects me, but he also helps me a lot in my business. So I keep that altar in my office.
Oh wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And
Um.
Denay, I don't know, because I know you kind of pick up on things of different energies. But
Yeah.
actually, in the comments, I don't know if you are able to pick this up, but
Ooh.
he said his grandmother had heart issues.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. So, okay, can I just say this really quick? Cause it's like on me, like really, really heavy. Like even before we even started this, um, like I was waiting, true story. Like I clicked the initial invitation like 30 minutes before because I was like, I need to get on here. I got to tell somebody something. Okay. So what I'm feeling right now, and I'll say it really quick, is that there's somebody who has like heart issues. Like there's palpitations and I'm having like a really hard time breathing. And I don't know if you can hear me like breathing, but I'm like, and I know that it's not mine. And the thing is that I even when I first started feeling it, I was trying to like do the cut the cord and I was trying to send the energy back to
Yeah.
the sender, but it wouldn't like leave me alone. And now I'm like getting the chills. So I think I'm on in the right area. So I just feel like it doesn't feel like it's crushing. It just feels like it's really like difficult for me to breathe. I know that there's something wrong. I
Yeah.
feel like I need to go to the doctor, but I can't get to the doctor in time. I feel like um, I don't know. Like it feels like I'm waiting for my daughter or my sister to come and get me to take me to the doctor, and they're taking too long. I don't
Mhm.
know. I keep seeing like a Piggly Wiggly, but I haven't seen those in years. Um, so yeah, and I don't know if this is for the person who's watching, and I don't know if it's for somebody that's like on the replay, and I don't know if it's actually maybe somebody because I can't see a face.
could it be someone connected to one of us though?
It could possibly be, um, but I don't see a
I don't know.
face.
It's
It
kind of
doesn't feel like this person. It feels like they're going through it like right now, like
Right. That's
like right this minute, like they're going through something and they're waiting for somebody to come and get them, but they can't. But there's something. It's like it's not happening quick enough. Like
mm.
something is happening, but like I can't see a face because usually when it's somebody that has crossed over, they'll come to me and it looks like a movie. So I could like see them or I can sense their energy or something. But this particular person doesn't seem like maybe they've already crossed over. They kind of just seem like they're just waiting. Like somebody please come and get me. I don't know what's going on. Like that's how I feel.
Wow.
But it's like they're just scared. That's what I want to say. This person is just scared. They're having something going on with their heart. Everything's going to be okay. But they're like, their energy is just kind of frantic. So if it goes with one of you two, please let me know, because that would make me feel better. But I just kind of feel like something, or it's, for all we know, it could be somebody in my family, just to be honest with you. But I can't grasp it. But I know that it's not me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the energy won't leave me alone. That's what I'm getting at. So sorry for that. But let me.
I'm kind of wondering, because my mom has a heart condition and my aunt lives near a Piggly Wiggly, but I don't know, like I'm just like, but I know my mom is really waiting on something important.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it may not even be that, but it just seems, I don't know.
It might be, but it just feels like, okay, this is, and try to just go with me. It feels like shortness of breath, so labored breathing. My heart is like slowing down. It's like pumping like this. I know I'm okay. I just need for whoever to get here. That's just exactly what it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I see like the heart. I see a heart like this. And it's slow. Like, usually hearts are like boom, 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 boom.
Right.
This is like boom, boom. And I'm getting like tingles like in my arms. I don't know. But now it's like in my throat. Like, I don't know if you've ever had like a situation where the heart hurt, but it was like up in your throat.
Actually, I have.
Yeah. So that's just what it feels like.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Just check. Just call your mom. Just check on her and see how she's doing, and just go from there. And just ask, like, hey, were you feeling something around? Like,
yeah, I'm definitely.
You know what I mean? Just ask.
Time because I do want to ask her about it.
Yeah, and just find out. And then if it did happen, please tell me, because I want to just make sure that I'm just not like, I don't know.
I get it.
You know what I mean?
I'm gonna ask her when we get off.
Okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay. But so you were Sharena shared like how she discovered ancestral veneration, and you hadn't shared how you discovered it.
Okay, so how I discovered it, and you guys don't laugh at me because I'm like super, it feels like something that I've been doing my whole life, but just recently I've actually acknowledged what I was doing. And it didn't really happen until like my grandfather died 3 years ago. Then my uncle died 2 years later. And then my grandma died this past Mother's Day. And so it wasn't until my grandma crossed over and I was coming down the stairs and there's a picture of her, right? And I just looked at it and I swear it was like she like moved or like turned her. It was weird. Okay. It was probably some type of like mystical psychosis, but it happens and that's just what it is. So since then I just started talking to her. And then one day she came to me. She visited me in a dream. And she basically told me that everything was okay, kind of showed me what she was doing, and then told me what she wanted, right? So she was just kind of like, she was like, okay. She showed me a picture that she wanted of her on the wall, of her in like her cap and gown from when she graduated from beauty school, like way back when. Okay. So I'm like, I don't have that picture. But like 2 days later, I found the picture. And I'm like, when did I get this picture? Okay, so boom. Moving forward, I just started really, I was listening to her, using my discernment, making sure that it wasn't a trickster, making sure that it was really something that she would have known and would have wanted for me. And then after that, I had another visitation where it was her, it was my big mama, so her mom, no, her grandmother, my great grandmother, her mom. So it was my grandma, my great grandma, my great great grandma, my aunt, my auntie Maddie, um, my aunt Squirrel, um, and who else was it? It was someone else, and it was a cousin, and all of them just came to me, and they were just like looking at me, and I was looking at them, and they were looking at me, and I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do? And then it was just kind of like from there, I just knew that I'm supposed to continue to honor them. I'm supposed to remember that they're always with me. At the time I was going through like um some real like heavy spiritual stuff like within my marriage, right? Um and so they were really there and they comforted me. But it wasn't until like more recently, like maybe in the past like 2 or 3 weeks, that my uncle that passed away and my grandfather have felt well. My grandfather, he finally started coming and speaking to me, but that's because my grandma let him, right? Because they're still together in the afterlife. She let him talk finally, right? And then my uncle, he kind of would poke in and out. Um, but he more or less kind of tells me, you know, because he was the one that all the kids went to, right? My kids, all the grandkids, whatever. So he would kind of say, like, okay, this is going on with your son. This is what you should do. The baby who he never met, this is what's going on with her. This is what you need to do. So when I honor my ancestors, I honestly, I ask them to give me like the absolute truth on whatever is happening. And because I'm a clairvoyant, I need for them to show me what it is, like in a picture form or a movie. Um, I'm rambling, but it's on my heart to tell y'all that just like with what Sharena says, it's important that you honor your ancestors in a way that is conducive for you and your household, also as well as how they want to be honored, right? So like you had mentioned that you put out food, right? And my my family, they were like, your kids can eat that. Like, we don't want that. You leave us like books, leave us books, leave us flowers. Make sure you have a Bible somewhere open to I think it's like it goes from like Psalms 51 to like Psalms like 121, something like that. Anyways, but make sure that you open the Bible for us, right? Um, but I think that within honoring them, I have found a new way to love myself as well, because now I know that, like, I officially know, like, I am not alone, right? I have my ancestors with me so far back, and they say, well, the theory is that people's ancestors, they stay with you like up to like 16 generations. So that's what, like almost 400 years. That's 400 years of assistance that I have behind me, that you have behind me, that you have behind you. So I mean, it helps. It helps. And I also want to say to anyone who is possibly watching and they're thinking, oh, well, that's like devil worship. It's absolutely not. And I want you to kind of think about who was the original person that told you that that was devil worship, because no one outside of your family, outside of your kin or skin, can tell you what you should and should not do when it comes to who or what you worship, or what is evil or what is good. Because culturally, we see things, live things a little bit differently. So it's important to do what is right for you spiritually, mentally, emotionally, right? If it doesn't sit well with you, if you feel it like right in your sacral chakra, if you feel it there and it don't feel right and your stomach is a turning and whatever else, and you might even be a little bit gassy, that means that it's not for you, right? So I think that it's just important for us to always remember those who came before us and that they're still with us. So that's, sorry, I was rambling, y'all. I got some fire under my feet.
That's spirit speaking.
And I think I'm glad that you mentioned that about the if people feel like it's devil worship, as well as I don't know if anybody else noticed, but just to me, I noticed that you mentioned the Bible as you were saying that about one specific group of ancestors, how they like for you to leave the Bible open. And I just think that I think that I do believe some people possibly do think it is devil worship. So I'm glad that you even mentioned that, because that kind of shows it's not, just the way some people seem to think it is. But I want to address this question that I see Cece has. And she says, I have been honoring an ancestor of mine. I was told that the ancestor hasn't crossed over yet. Do I still continue to honor them because I don't want to welcome any unwanted spirits?
What does that mean, they haven't crossed over yet? Are they like in purgatory or Middle Earth, or what does that mean?
So Cece is my assistant, y'all.
Okay.
But, Cece's father recently passed, and so a relative of hers had a reading, and the person that did the reading told the relative that Cece's father hasn't crossed over, so it wasn't told to her directly. So we don't really know what that means or if it's true in that case. So she just wanted some guidance. But I think that, just in my experience with her, I think that he may have crossed over because he has made contact with her. Do you feel anything, Denay?
Well, I'm just questioning, like, so what I'm wondering, if they meant that he hasn't crossed over, are they saying that the person hasn't gone through like their life review yet and they're still kind of waiting? Because sometimes if the spirit hasn't gone through their life review,
it's only been a few months since it happened.
How old is her
unexpected.
daddy? Yeah.
I'm not sure how old he was, but it was very unexpected.
Did it happen like in a flash, or did it happen like he was sick but didn't really tell anybody?
Sick. He wasn't sick. So we're not exactly sure what happened to him. And I don't think, because it took them a while to locate him, I don't think they were able to do an autopsy, so they don't know exactly what the cause of death is.
So they don't know if it was like
it could have been
something or anything.
He was 59, she said, and it could have been something traumatic for him.
Yeah, because that's what I'm thinking too. Sometimes if it's a traumatic death, I've heard that people kind of linger.
They'll get stuck in limbo. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but he's visited her. What was said in the visitation?
I don't think he said anything, but she mentioned earlier that the scent, and she's felt his presence. She created an altar for him so she could kind of tell from the water that, there's been some spiritual interaction. Cece, has he come to you in your dreams? Have you all spoken in your dreams?
I don't see anything yet.
She ain't coming in yet. Okay. She's watching though. She might have a lot to say.
No, she said not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Okay. Golly, gosh. Okay. So if he hasn't spoken to her, but he's visited her in a dream, correct? And she smelt him, and she has, what else? What else was said?
She's put an altar out, so like she
Altar?
had some of his stuff. Yeah, she was able to go get some of his belongings, so she had some of his stuff, and she was able to create an altar for him. So she's just had like experiences in her home. Like once
Yeah.
his things came into her home, she's had
Oh.
yep,
Okay.
she's
Okay.
had
That
some
makes okay.
experiences like that. So
Okay. That's well. Okay. Okay. All right. So um in Hindu beliefs, there's certain like soul. Your soul is a certain like a breath, right? There's from what I can recall, there's like the prana, which is like your life
mhm,
force breath, right?
yeah.
And so what they say in that particular tradition is just that within the items, right? Their essence or their soul will still linger. So a part of his consciousness is with her.
Mm,
He may not necessarily be with her. So if the person who got the reading, let's say that the reader or the medium, whoever they went to, is reputable, and they're saying that they haven't crossed over yet, then that means what we were kind of speculating could be true, that maybe he is still on in this realm, like kind of in between. Maybe he hasn't fully crossed over. Maybe what she's feeling is just the remaining like essence of him, his a part of his consciousness. um and so if that's the case, uh, I personally, I'm going to speak for myself. Miss CC, you could do whatever you want to do in this regard, but it for me personally, if someone told me that, and if it was just the consciousness, I don't think I would have an open altar for that person, because they need to be ready to assist you. If they're not ready to assist you, then
well, I don't
it
think she
could.
created the altars for assistance, just so that she could honor her dad.
Oh, so it's just
So,
like I love you,
mm,
daddy. Okay,
yeah,
well then that makes sense.
yeah.
Um, all right.
Okay. So I think y'all have answered TC's question then. So well actually because so it is okay for her to continue to honor him, basically. Because she was asking about unwanted spirits.
Yeah, I don't, and I don't think she's not doing anything to welcome any spirits into her home. So I don't think you have anything to worry about that. You can still continue to honor your dad, and it may even help him when he does cross over because of that connection that you guys have. You're his only child. Um, it'll help him just to navigate his way through the spiritual realm.
Okay.
Mm.
She said okay, cool. All right. So, my last question is: you all have kind of given some examples as far as like how we can honor our ancestors, but I guess for someone who wanted to just start, you all kind of share how you all started, but at the same time, I know that you all had a lot of knowledge already. So, for someone who like for me, example, just since I've been listening to you all, I'm kind of thinking, hey, I really would like to honor my grandmother on my paternal side, because that's possibly the closest person I've had to me to pass, but also
Mm.
just because I feel like I didn't really get to know her really, just growing up. And so now as I got older, I learned more about her actually after her death. And it really, I realized how we were alike in a lot of ways. So for me, like how could I start, I mean, just with her possessions or
You can start with a picture.
Yeah.
You
okay.
can, you can start with a picture. You can talk to her picture. You can create an altar for her. You don't necessarily have to have her belongings. Um, Denay mentioned that in starting to learn about ancestral veneration, that she started to take better care of herself. And that's the very first thing that you could do to honor your ancestors and venerate your ancestors, is to take care of your temple, because their bloodline runs through us.
Mhm.
Um, and so when we sit down to eat dinner, you don't have to be like me and put out a plate of food. I don't put out a full plate of food, but I actually share from our meal, and I put it on the altar until the end of the day. I don't leave it out, for bugs or anything like that. Because people always ask that question, like, do we just leave it out? You can leave it out if you don't have to worry about bugs and things like that. It just depends on what your situation is and
Right.
how you want to practice. You can put your plate out for an hour just while you're having dinner and you can take it back, or you can put it out and you can leave it out for the week and you can switch it out.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell that your ancestors have interacted with your offerings because they'll drain the life from it. So, like when you put flowers on the altar, some like my flowers, sometimes the roses will open up and sometimes they won't open up. Sometimes they'll just drain all the life from the flowers before they open up and they look perfectly dead. Like they look exactly the way they looked when I bought them, but they're dry and brittle. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they're still perfect, but they've drained all the life from it. Or you'll see the bubbles in the water
Yeah.
that we give as an offering. You'll notice bubbles in your water. And that's how you know that they've interacted with your water. And even the food, like, normally our food is supposed to go moldy and go bad, and the food on the altar will just dry all the way out and look exactly the same as it did. Just like, if you go to the bakery and you see those cakes and they're sitting there, that's how your food looks when it's on your altar. So first things first, take care of your temple, your body, because their blood runs through your body. So that's how you honor your ancestors. You can eat with them. A lot of times they'll tell you what they want. So Denay said, they tell me what they want on the altar, like the Bible. One time I was actually in a metaphysical store and this lady turned around and she was like, "Do you have one of these?" And it was the head of a panther. And I was like, "No." And she was like, "Somebody telling me you need one of these on your altar." And I was like, "Oh, I know exactly who it is because my brother had a panther on his arm, a tattoo.
Mm.
And he wanted one of those little figurines on his altar. So I bought one. So they will tell you what they want. And if you know what type of things that they like, our elders had vices. They smoked cigarettes, they drank alcohol. So you can put that on your altar. And that's, what I do. I give them offerings randomly if I get stuff that I know that they would like or I think that they would like. I have some of their own personal belongings on my altar. And like I said, I interact with it every day. So I light a candle for them every day and I light incense for them every day. And I say the same like prayer in the morning time. It's like my morning routine. This is what
Mm-hmm.
I do: get up, light a candle, light an incense, open the blinds, chop it up with them in the morning. That's kind of like my breakfast routine. And then on Sundays, we do family dinner. So that's how I honor my ancestors.
Mm.
Okay. Denay, do you want to add anything to that?
I mean, I totally agree with what she said. I just want to also add, though, and not just specifically to you, Fancy, but just everybody, be aware, though, that sometimes your ancestors may not even like you, or like, the mama and daddy who you came from. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could have had a great auntie, right? And she did not like her sister. So you can honor her, but she might not want to talk to you. So just be aware, like, if you're, I mean,
Or they might not want their pictures next to each other because my
it's,
brother and my father had a
yeah,
tumultuous relationship, and he has knocked my father's picture down on more than one occasion. And I know that he's doing it because the way that things are placed on the altar, like if it just fell, it's gonna knock everything else down. But this is the only thing on the altar out of place. These
yeah.
spirits did that. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like some
So
of
be
them are still
careful.
like real, like petty on the other
Yeah,
side. Like
they're still the same
like it's
energy.
still
Yeah.
exactly. So just be aware of that. Like, and I'm not saying, Fancy, that your granny didn't like you, nothing like that. I'm just be aware. Like sometimes folks don't always like their family, so they
Look,
may
I'm
not.
glad you came back and said that
It
because
may not
I'm
come
like,
through.
dang, did they get a feeling or something like about my grandmother? Because I don't know. But I'm glad you came back and said that because I was just kind of curious. Like I said, I didn't know her as well, but I was the first grandchild, so it was just,
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I have really enjoyed this conversation, and I think that like it's been very informative, and I think just I mean, I hope a lot of people watch it because I think that this is like Sharena said it was new to her, but well, today you kind of mentioned it was new to you since it was only about 3 years ago. But it I just think it's not something that we talk about as much in the Black community. It doesn't seem like it. And even as I was kind of Googling it, and I was seeing how it's, a lot of different religions practice this, and so it seems pretty
They
common,
do.
But then
Yeah, I wanted to say that, Fancy. Have y'all watched like some of the new like Disney cartoons and stuff? They're
Mm-hmm.
starting to talk about honoring their ancestors and things like that in these movies. But
Yeah.
also, like the generation before us, and I'm getting ready to be 40, so I don't know if y'all still in my generation, but like the generation before us, I don't know if they wanted to like do things a little bit differently, but that's kind of a different generation than our grandparents' generation. And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like a lot of our traditions and a lot of our knowledge kind of got lost because the generation before us didn't want to carry on some of those practices and traditions and things like that. And I know for me, what I was getting from my grandmother as a young lady, it would have been so beneficial if I was able to have that as a teenager, as a young adult, and to still learn from my grandma. And our traditions are really rooted in being handed down verbally, right? We don't find this stuff in a book. We transfer our traditions and our knowledge and our root working down verbally. We talk and we tell stories and share it that way. And I think that's why it's been getting lost in translation. So like for me, I made it a point to share it with everyone that I know. Like this is what you should be doing, and this could help you as you're losing people, because we have a hard time with death in our community too. But if we knew what happened afterwards, we could save ourselves a lot of heartache. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, but
Absolutely.
I just don't think that we recognize that a lot of our elders have been practicing ancestor veneration. They just didn't call it that.
I
Mm.
do believe that, and then at the same time, I just keep wondering. Like, I can't think of a single person in my family though that seems like they would kind of have this knowledge. But I do think about what you said about the photos, and it just made
Mhm.
me think about, like, in my house we don't really have any photos like that. But
Really?
I do remember, like, growing up, that was really important, when we went by relatives' houses and things like that. So now I'm just sitting there thinking, like, okay, I gotta get some family photos up, and so yeah, this has been
Or when you went to your grandmother's house maybe and they had that living room that you can't go in with all the nice
right.
furniture and the nice pictures in it. They had a
Mm-hmm.
whole room.
It was a whole room. It really was in my
Uh-huh.
great grandmother's. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a whole room.
Well, I'm gonna I have you all's banners to display, but also just we could go from left to right or whatever. Sharena, where can we find you online? I have it here, but if you could just, call it out, it always.
Absolutely. You can find me online. All of our social media is the Regal Phoenix, except for Facebook. It's Shop Regal Phoenix. So you can find us on all the social media platforms at the Regal Phoenix. Our website is theregalphoenix.com. If you need spiritual tools to add to your practice, you can find us there. And if you have any questions or would like some Reiki, you can email me at hello@theregalphoenix.com.
All right. And Denay?
Um, Girl. Okay. So all of my social media is Denay Nicole Coaching except for TikTok, which is Goddess Revival 3333. That's where I kind of share everything about the spiritual awakening process. You can go to my website, which is DenayNicoleCoaching.com. You can also email me at DenayNicoleCoaching.com. I really like my name, don't I?
That's
But that's
legacy.
how right. So that's how you can reach out to me, and I'm always here to support and to give assistance and love in any way that I can. So yeah.
All right. And is it Goddess Revival 3333 for TikTok?
Yes.
Okay. All
Yes,
right,
ma'am.
y'all. And this has been really interesting. So I appreciate you all for coming on. And guys, if you all have any other questions, you could drop them in the comments and we could see about getting some type of response. But again, do check out the ladies, Serena Loggins of the Regal Phoenix and Denay Dominic of um Denay Nicole coaching, as well as the Guidance Survival. And Denay, well, I'll let it go. Okay. So yeah, y'all. So thank you all for coming
Thank you
on.
for having us, Fancy. We
Yeah, it
appreciate
was
it.
fun.
Yeah.
I love talking to other women about stuff that I like because it makes me just know that like there's more than just one person who knows, you know, what I'm trying to practice or what I'm trying to teach, you know,
Yeah.
because we're not necessarily going to get that all the time. So coming to places like this, coming to safe settings like this is really appreciated. So thank you very much.
Y'all are welcome. All right, guys. So thank you all for tuning in. Peace and blessings, and y'all have a nice night.
Later, y'all. Thanks,
Bye.
Fancy.
You're welcome.